Once upon a time, there was a little boy called Howard who loved writing stories.
Little Howard dreamed of being a writer, and so he sat and wrote every night. But everything he wrote was fucking shite, yeah. Wubba-dubba-doo, wubba-dubba-doo. Worst writer in the world, worst writer in the world, worst writer in the world, worst writer in the world. He's a stupid, suck-ass, rubbish writer.
Welcome to the worst writer in the world with me, Rufus, and he's throwing tyres on himself in a scrapyard. It's...
Ooh, Howard Long, a.k.a. Super Long.
Thank you to the British Comedy Guide for hosting this show. Thank you to you for listening to it. You know, you're all right. And thanks to, most of all, thanks to every single one of all of our lovely, lovely patrons on Patreon who just keep stuffing money in us to make more.
Yes.
Let's get started, shall we?
Yes, please.
So, Mr. Howard, I have opened one of your school books.
Ooh, cheeky.
This one says English, Mr. Cotton,
Right.
2C.
Or not to see, that is the question.
I'll tell you what's weird. I want to tell you this because I don't want you to be disappointed when we get to the end.
Okay.
I've said before that Mr. Cotton did not mark your stuff very well.
Yeah.
But this one he just didn't mark. Like, there's no comments. There's no score at the end. There's no tick. He usually at least gives you a tick. And to put this in context, immediately before this is Smith and the Gate.
Wow. So,
You may remember that one?
Yeah, I
about
do.
going for a race down in the sewers
I do
and
remember.
drilling.
yes, there was my peak. So this could be like...
This could
Maybe
be
this
great, yeah.
might be the peak. I thought Smith and the Gate was my peak, but now I hear that there's something directly after it, and Mr. Cotton's not even bothered to grade it. Then that's probably the best thing I ever did.
Well, maybe it's because it was too good. He's like, well, I can't not give this 20 out of 20.
Yeah.
But also, I have promised to myself never to
Never.
give Howard more than 19.
So yeah, so it's like Pavlov's grade.
In what way?
Wow.
Because when you ring a bell, Mr. Cotton gives you 19 out of 20.
Okay, Schrodinger.
Schrodinger, Pavlov, they're both names. They're both names.
Well, they're both like names that begin with a letter towards the rear of the alphabet.
Pavlov, of course, put two dogs in a box, and when he rang a bell, one of them died, but he didn't know which one, so he opened the box.
I can only keep so many like scientists in my head at any one time.
This is Pavlov's grade. I mean, yeah, because he always gave you 19 out of 20. It does seem like the trigger it wasn't a bell. The trigger was just seeing your name on the piece of writing, and Mr. Cotton immediately gave you 19 out of 20, clearly without reading it. We've already established that he did not read your writing. We have already established that Mr. Cotton was a Pavlovian teacher, in that he was one of the dogs, not that he was Pavlov. He was one
Right,
of the dogs.
he's one of the dogs.
Because he didn't read, he didn't evaluate, he didn't mark things. He just went, Howard, 19 out of 20. Robert, 0 out of 20.
Yeah.
Alf, 20 out of 20. I've seen their beans. I know their social class. Those were his triggers, and he always had the same response. You ring a bell, the dog wants food. You tell Mr. Cotton it's by Howard, it gives you 19 out of 20. So even though you said it by accident, I think it's more accurate than saying something about Schrodinger, which I don't think was going to make any sense.
Because it makes sense. Of course it makes sense. It's Schrodinger's grade because it's like...
Go on then, explain.
Well, it remains ungraded. It's like the box is closed. It's like if you open it, then you're going to find out something. I don't really know what Schrodinger was talking about. But in this instance, it's like if he'd graded it and I'd have got 20 out of 20, then I would have got 20 out of 20. But I'm not allowed to.
I don't know.
And
I
so
feel
like,
'cause
so he
Schrodinger-
did. So the possibility is I was awarded 20 out of 20 for it, but there's no way of ever knowing it. Just like Pavlov's
So what you're saying
grades.
is because the waveform
Schrodinger.
hasn't collapsed because no one opened the box.
Yeah.
You are simultaneously getting 20 out of 20 and 19 out of 20
Yes,
for this story.
That's what I meant, but
Okay.
but I couldn't say any of those things.
All right. So this story, this unmarked story,
20 out of 20
is
was
called which I'm going to give 20 out of 20. Well, let's read it first and then decide.
Well, you can grade it.
This is when we open the box. Yeah, I'm an English teacher. This is where we finally open the box and find out what score it gets. All right, I'm going to get my red pen out. Hang on.
Yeah.
Okay, got my red pen ready to... Oh, no, I've written 0.
Oh, no! No!
I couldn't stop myself. The box is open. I've written 0. No, it's okay. I haven't
You
really.
can stick a 2 on the front of that anytime you like.
No, sorry, it's done. I wrote it in letters. I wrote Z-E-R.
But seriously, though, it's not been graded, and you are a teacher, so if you want to grade it at the end, let's see.
No, I will.
What you convince him. Don't just give me 0 because you're mean or anything.
No, I'll evaluate it, and I'll try and use Mr. Cotton's grading system, whereby
by giving it 19. Yeah.
No, actually, no, not exactly, because I'll try and pretend Mr. Cotton was actually reading your work. And honestly thought that your other writing was of a 19 out of 20 quality, and I'll compare it to the quality of other pieces of writing we've read. And if it's the same, I'll give it. If it's the same, I'll have to give it 19 out of 20. Yeah. If it's worse, obviously I'm going to have to give it less than 19 out of 20. But if it is better, specifically than Smith and the Gate, which got 19. Right, if it's better than Smith and the Gate, it's getting 20, maybe more than 20. All right,
okay,
that's all
well,
we need.
Just like to draw your attention to if you look behind me there, you might see a can of Waitrose beans, Mr. Penzance. So take that into consideration.
I see you are trying to influence my grading with your Waitrose beans. Well, we will see. Okay, so this story is called The Necklace.
Ooh.
You were doing quite simple titles back here, because actually we called the episode Smith and the Gate, but actually it's called Smith.
That's the best title I've ever had, though. When I saw that title written down in the Dropbox, Smith and the Gate, I thought, that's a really good title. Then I found out that I didn't write that title.
No, that was me. Yeah, the one before Smith and the Gate was The Mystery of the Locked Room.
Ooh. What was the mystery there?
That it wasn't a gorilla.
Was it a gorilla? It wasn't a gorilla.
There was a man locked in a room, and then a maid let him out, and then he turned out to be a murderer. Right? That was confusing. The only thing I remember about the mystery.
The mystery of the locked room was there was no mystery of a locked room.
Yeah, there was a locked room, but no mystery. Yeah, the thing I remember about Mystery of the Locked Room is Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Yeah,
which is a different story.
Well, that was quite a monumental occasion in your life then, because you hadn't heard of the Murders in the Rue Morgue before then, apparently.
No, I hadn't. Never read it. Yeah. I read it because you told me about it. I had no idea there was like one of the original detective stories that was about a gorilla shoving. Yeah. I still can't quite believe it's true.
If only that's what they'd taken from it.
Yeah.
If just instead of spawning lots and lots of stories about detectives solving things, if it spawned lots and lots of stories about monkeys shoving people up chimneys, that would be brilliant. Yeah. And that would be a genre now.
So much better. All right. And the two main characters are called Henri and Mathilde. So I'm going to have to use a particular kind of voice for them, okay? So it starts with, "Leave it till morning," said Henri. "I can't," shouted Mathilde. "I won't be able to sleep." Henri left the room and returned with their coats. "Okay," he said. "Come with me. I've had an idea."
What's going on?
Basically,
leave what till morning?
Henri said, "Leave it till morning." Mathilde can't. She won't be able to sleep if they leave it. So they've got their coats, and Henri
what do we think that is? Like she needs to take a shit or something, and he's like, "Oh, you can't wait till the morning." She's, "No, I won't be able to sleep. I will poo the bed."
I'll just, and then I'm not going to be able to sleep because lying in all the shit, you know. I don't know. Leave it till morning. It's like
feed the cat,
putting the bins out.
Yeah,
feed the cats,
no, don't leave. Yeah, exactly. Yes, bins probably, because that's like something you'd be like, "No, I can do that in the morning." It's like, whoa, if we get up too late, I'm gonna miss it.
Don't worry about your bins. They are good enough. Mr. Cotton is not coming round till Saturday. We'll get better bins before. No, I did not mean my bins. I meant my bins. I've got to put the bins out. No, don't need to put the bins out. People already... Okay, if someone wants to come round and judge us on our bins, they're going to have to knock on the door and come inside. Don't put the bins out to show everyone. I want to put the bins out so everyone can see how posh we are with my Waitrose bins. Okay, so that would be a good thing. What we should all start doing. In fact, let's try and start a new British habit now. A new cultural moment where before you go to bed at night, right? Every, like, I don't know, choose a day in the week. You don't have to do it every day, but one day a week you put your beans out. Right, on your front windowsill or on a wall if you've got one, wherever in front of your house, so everyone can see how posh you are. Right, and you put all of them out because I think quantity is also important. Some like quantity, not that lots of beans means posh, because maybe one tin of very posh beans is better than like 20 tins of super cheap beans, because buying in bulk is also a poor person thing, isn't it? So people can judge you based on your beans, but only if you put them out. And then you can walk down your street on Wednesday night or whenever you've decided everyone puts their beans out, and you can decide who is posh and who isn't.
Well, the really posh beans will be put out by posh people, and their beans won't have an easily openable lid. So all the poor people who are walking by who are hungry and don't have any food still won't be able to eat the beans, and that will be like, and the rich people will be laughing, going, ha, ha, ha. You can steal my beans, but you can never eat them.
As I've often said, I think when you get to a certain level of richness, tinned beans is not a thing anymore. So what you really know is when you're walking down the street and the really big house at the end of the street, right, the really huge house at the end, no beans, you're like, oh God, that's too posh for beans. Oh my God!
I don't know, if you got to Richard Pryor's house, there'd probably be some like string beans, runner beans, that kind of thing.
Richard Pryor?
Bryars, not Richard Pryor.
Because Richard Pryor, famously posh bean owner. The Richard Bryars, and where he lives with Felicity Kendall, you mean?
Yes.
Homegrown beans. That's another thing as well, isn't it? But then you've got to judge those beans on how posh is this person. Are they doing it out of a kind of desperate necessity, or are they just fairly wealthy middle class people who've decided to get themselves a sitcom and need a USP? You know, what are we dealing with?
Yeah.
All right, so Matilda can't sleep if they leave it till morning, so they've gone to get their coats, and Henri says, come with me, I've got an idea. Oh, I've got an idea. The doll maker's shop was just closing when they arrived. The doll maker's shop. Wow, she can't sleep unless they do something doll-based. But they managed to get inside.
What?
So they elbowed their way. It was just closing. They said, get out of my way. I'm coming in your shop whether you like it or not. I'm coming in your shop.
Yeah. I thought it was closed. I thought they broke in.
No, just closing. Like they were pulling the shutters down, but then they Indiana Jonesed under the shutters, and then I'm in your shop now. Got to sell me doll things. My wife can't sleep if she doesn't get a doll thing before Betty Bass. So, but they managed to get inside. It was painted green inside and out.
Good bit of detail there. 10 out of 10. Thank you.
And it clashed violently with the red leather settee in one corner.
Wow, really going for it.
All right, so then the shopkeeper says, so, you want just a necklace, no doll.
Well, you've come to the wrong place then, because this is a doll shop. We don't sell necklaces.
Henri was on the verge of going mad.
Really?
Well, I'll keep the doll jewellery and clothes in the back room. Come with me.
Why is Henri going mad? I don't understand. Are we to take it that like they've been there already for half an hour when the scene picks up again, and he's been said, oh, I need a necklace. What do you mean? Do you want a doll? No, I mean I would like a necklace for a doll. You mean you'd like a necklace on a doll? No, just without the doll around without the doll inside the necklace.
Well, I want the necklace, but with no doll inside it, please.
Yeah.
So you want the doll outside of the necklace then? No, I do not want the doll, but I'm a doll maker. Yes, but you also do the clothes, right? You can do me you can do me an accessory.
They are attached to the dolls.
Oh, they're painted on.
Yeah.
Amazing, said Mathilde. Perfect, said Henri. Do you want it? asked the doll maker. Amazing little dialogue exchange there. Do you want it? Asked the doll maker, struggling the words out.
Yeah, struggling those words out. Why is he struggling the words out?
He was old, you see.
Oh, okay, fair
and
enough.
Old people can't talk.
Yeah, clearly.
Old people are famous for not talking much. He was old, you see. Grey hair and moustache, horn-rimmed spectacles. You know the sort. You know, old people, how they all have horn-rimmed spectacles on. They arrived back at the house, smiling.
Okay.
She'll never notice the difference, began Mathilde.
Okay.
And for just a half franc as well, and for just a half franc. Now you've crossed out here. You said and for just tuppence as well, but you've crossed out tuppence because you remembered, I guess, that you're writing about
canny,
French people. You got
smart me.
a half franc. And at 11 o'clock in the morning, Madame Forestier arrived for dinner. Matilda had invited her round. They had a good time.
What did they play Lego? Did they and James Bond?
They played the gibber game. They had a good time. And the gibber game, right? I mean, just because we may know, I have no idea what the history of us mentioning the gibber game is. But Howard, do we have any idea what the gibber game was? I mean, we know it was something it was a board game you invented.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, maybe our listeners don't realise that you were a prolific board game inventor when you were a child, weren't you? I remember regularly coming to your house and you'd be like, "I've invented a board game. Let's play it," and we would, and they would work. Yeah. Like they would invariably, they wouldn't necessarily be amazing, but they were. I remember enjoying them. But I think inventing a board game that actually functions is not an easy thing for a young child to do. But you did it regularly.
Yeah, for the most part, they were capitalist board games. I think I learned a lot from a lot of the other board games I played, Monopoly and like. One of the things about the gibber game was it had secret special paths you could take. So they had the main thing around the side, but then also like if you landed on a particular square and then you rolled a good dice score, you could then go through special trails where you'd get more money and better stuff. And that was the gibber game. And you could take a gibber card. Obviously, pick up a gibber card.
And firstly, what was the objective? Was it just to get money?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's impossible to kind of like imagine what it was about since it was called the gibber game. With something like Monopoly, you can kind of like get an idea of it. Yeah. Game of life.
You're trying to get
kind
a
of
Monopoly.
Understand what it is. Yeah, payday.
Go
I
for
understand.
broke.
Yeah, go for broke. Lose
it's
them.
in the name. Yeah.
Gibber game. I don't know.
It could be anything. So you don't know what the gibber cards were?
Move forward 2 squares. Collect £10 because you won a beauty contest, maybe.
Okay. So they had a good time. They played the gibber game and talked about the old days. And before she left, Mathilde handed her the necklace and she went.
Oh.
Phew, said Henry and Matilda in chorus. Okay, so Matilda went, phew. That night, the front door knocker went.
Where'd it go?
Doesn't say where it went. And Henri answered it. All right, so someone come to the door, and I notice that it says a man wearing a coach driver's cap. So, hi, said a man wearing a coach driver's cap.
Why is that Dennis Quaid?
No, it's because of Rafe Dix.
Ah.
Hi, blokes, I'm a coach driver. I've got my 32 coaches outside, and I'm driving them to Portugal. Hi, said a man wearing a coach driver's cap. You're the man, aren't you?
Me? No, my husband is the man.
No, it's Henri who answered the door.
Okay.
Right? So that night, someone came to the door. A man wearing a coach driver's cap said, "Hi, you're the man, aren't you? Do you have a wife?"
Oh.
This is so weird. Do you have a wife?
I think that you've made the wrong voice choice for the coach driver. I think we would understand the coach driver much better if he was like, "Oh, you're the man one, aren't you?"
Okay.
Because like he's a robot from outer space and he doesn't know the difference between sexes, but he thinks that this is the man.
All right, I'll try it again. "Hello," said a man wearing a coach driver's cap so that you couldn't see the wires coming out of his head.
Yes, there it is.
You're the man, aren't you? Am I right in thinking that you're the male one of the species, and you're not the feline of the species?
Yeah.
You're the man, aren't you? Do you have a wife? Henri nodded. He seemed to recognise the coach driver. Because he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? That's what that story's about. Have I seen you in a movie where you are a policeman but at a nursery school? I feel like that's what I've seen you doing that. Have you ever been to Mars? I can't say for sure. I think I have, but you know, it's always possible that I was just dreaming. So he seemed to recognise the coach driver. Mathilde, there is a gentleman here to see you. At least he says he's a gentleman, but he has got wires coming out from under his coach driver's cap, and he looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's got a big metal hand. So I don't know if maybe he's a robot from space.
He could be a gentle robot.
Could be a robot man. Who knows? Could be all kinds of things. He's got a big gun. Wants to see you, though, not me. He just murdered my cat.
He says his father's name is Katana.
I'm starting to think maybe he's not human. He keeps calling me Henri. Henri, not Henri. That's not my name, Henri. So, Mathilde, there is a gentleman here to see you, he shouted. A few seconds later, Mathilde emerged from the kitchen. Hello? What? She said. You're the pair, all right. They both looked bemused. Reasonable.
Yeah. What's going on?
Last night, you had a lift in my coach.
Oh.
You know, last night you had a lift in my coach. And that necklace you gave me for payment was way too much. What the fuck? Didn't they? Okay, so the timing is weird because they go... The starts with leave it till morning, so it's definitely bedtime, right?
Yeah.
Then they go to a doll maker shop, which is just closing. So that is a late night doll maker shop. It's quite unusual, but it's if a shop is closing, it's definitely evening, right? And then they arrived back at the house, smiling, and at 11 o'clock in the morning, which I assume was the next morning.
Yeah.
But I realised I just skated over this. It says at 11 o'clock in the morning, Madame Forestier arrived for dinner. Right? What's going on with the time here? And they gave her the necklace. That night, the front door knocker went. So it's got to be 2 days. There's got to have been a day pass, right?
Yeah, they got a necklace.
The weird thing is that they had dinner at 11 a.m.
Woke up, had their 11 a.m. dinner as usual. As is normal in France.
Yeah. All right, so the robot from space is just saying, that necklace you gave me for payment was way too much. I sold it today, and it fetched a bomb. It fetched a bomb. I'll have 1/8 of the money, and you can have the rest. He handed them a bag of cash, said, "Boy," and left.
Shit.
All right, so... Madame Forestier, I'm going to assume, is not French, right? So, Madame Forestier, what was it you wanted to see me about? Asked Madame Forestier. Henri gulped. Why did he have to tell her? Well, began Henri, you know that necklace you lent Mathilde? You remember how you lent Mathilde a doll's necklace, as a normal thing for humans to do, right? Well, you know that necklace you lent Mathilde? Madame Forestier nodded. Well, she lost it. Madame Forestier looked puzzled. Another just really normal thing you do when you get the bus, right? And you go, here, I'll have a necklace for payment, Mr. Bus Driver. But she gave it to me only this morning, when I came round for dinner at 11 a.m. You were there. Henri shook his head.
No, I wasn't. You imagined me.
That's not what I mean. She lost your necklace and replaced it with a fake one. Madame Forestier began to giggle. That's what she did. All right, so imagine that for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
And then that's why Henri shouted. What? Shouted Henri with a frustrated look on his face. What's so funny? Why are you giggling like blah, 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 blah for 10 minutes? What's going on? Madame Forestier stopped laughing. Is that all? She asked.
Oh.
It doesn't matter. The one I lent her was a fake.
Oh, wow. I got it from a doll shop. Hence why it was so small and didn't fit around anyone's neck.
What about the money? Asked Mathilde. Isn't it rightfully hers? Henri nodded.
Mathilde's there. Or we've skipped
I
scenes
think maybe
now.
this is meant to be a. I think
Okay.
there's no gap. There's just the next paragraph. But I think what happened is
He's gone
jumped
home.
forward in time. Yeah. Henri nodded. But he said, "She said we can keep it."
Wait. What did Matilda say?
What about the money? Isn't it rightfully hers? Because the bus driver came round and gave them a big bag of money because it turned out the necklace was really expensive. Yeah. But then he went and said, "We lost your necklace." She said, "Don't worry, it wasn't worth anything. It was a piece of crap."
Yeah.
And then, but they know it wasn't. They know it was actually valuable.
Yeah.
And Matilda's like, well, isn't what we're doing morally wrong? Because we basically tricked an old woman and then stole money from her. Is that something we should be worried about? And Henri is like, no, I think it's fine.
Well, they did go and tell her. I mean, everyone in this story has kind of like come forward and said, "Hey, by the way," like a cab driver.
Seems like you're going to agree with your young self because your morals have not progressed in any way since you wrote this. Because Matilda says, isn't it rightfully hers? Henri nodded. But, he said, she said we can keep it. They smiled at each other. Yippee! They suddenly shouted and danced gleefully round the coffee table. The end.
Very poor show. A very poor show. That's why he didn't mark it. He didn't have the heart to give me 2 out of 20. So I think the actual plot is this woman lent her a very fancy necklace that she believed to be worthless, or was in fact worthless. She lost it or accidentally paid this cab driver it. Didn't like give it him and say, "Here's your payment. I haven't got any money on me at the moment. Would you take this $1 million necklace?"
They just put her hand in her purse, pulled out the first thing she found, didn't look at it. She keeps doll necklaces in her borrowed doll necklaces in her purse.
Yeah.
Handed it to the coach driver. He's like, "Oh, that's probably money. I don't know what money is because I'm a robot from space.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go and spend it in the supermarket." And then he gets down the supermarket. They're like, "No, this is a necklace."
Yeah, you
He's
need
like,
to go to
what?
the...
Well, where do I get it?
the
Go
jeweler.
to the pawn shop. Yeah. He's like, "How much money can I get for this?" They're like, £1 million. Like, "Oh, is that a lot? Is that a lot?" And they explain that it is. And then he's like, "Oh, well, I'm a very moral robot from space. I better go and give 7/8 of this money to the people who gave it to me because they seemed quite nice."
Yeah.
Little Howard dreamed of being a writer, and so he sat down to every night. But everything he wrote was fucking shite, yeah. Wubba-dubba-doo, wubba-dubba-doo. Worst writer in the world. Worst writer in the world. Worst writer in the world. Worst writer in the world.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Worst Writer in the World. You are the real hero of this episode. You, the listener. But I tell you what, you could be more of a hero if you went over to patreon.com/manbycow and considered, giving us $2 a month to keep making it. And in return, we'll give you an absolute load of extra audio entertainment, not just in the past, but also in the present and future as well. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye, milk.
Bye-bye, that milk.
He's a stupid, suck-ass, rubbish writer. Yeah.